My name is Marshall Talley. This is EDU 503, our final paper project. It is a self-audit on a school district that we have chosen. It could either be collegiate or high school level. I have chosen to pick Jefferson City High School. am currently employed at Jefferson City High School. I've worked here for the last 9 years, last 5 years as a teacher and 4 years as a paraprofessional. And during that equivalent time, I've been a coach at many different levels, been a head coach at the middle school level, assistant, and been a part of large programs at the high school level. In this self-audit, we are talking about Title IX and its gender equality in sports, more addressing that than on the educational side. Going into this, we were given a 3-prong test, and I decided to do prong 3. That seemed like it was going to be easiest with COVID and all the numbers being hard to find right now, and answering and seeing if Jeff City is really compliant in Title IX. We also had to do a 2-prong test, which would have to meet every aspect of the 2-prong test, which I'll be addressing as well. To give you some history on Jeff City, as I have been currently working for Jeff City 9 years, I was able to get another view of sports from my father, who also attended Jeff City in the 1970s, and he's seen it grown from what it has to now. And also my grandfather, who has also worked in Jefferson City at Lincoln University and closely with Jefferson City Public Schools as well, and seen it grow over the time. Jefferson City Public Schools district was first created about 1880s. The first official building was in 1906 Simonson Building, which is still currently around today. Just got blown over this year by the tornado, or last year by the tornado. Very old building. So in the 3-prong test, I picked prong 3. The first question it has to evaluate if Jefferson City High School was conducting Title IX properly and following all the rules and conducts of it was, what steps have been taken to expand women's athletic participation opportunities in the recent past? Like I stated before, Jeff City has been around for a very long time, very predominant. In the last 3 years, they've added girls wrestling in the high school. Before wrestling became a MSHA certified thing, Jeff City High School was allowing women intramurals wrestling to compete and happen. Before that, I work at the middle school level. I have seen and coached at the middle school level for the last 5 years, even before the high school has done it. The middle school coaches have taken on to themselves the initiative to allow female wrestlers to be involved in wrestling. Jeff City has also made a huge initiative in the last couple of years, is adding women's rugby to the sports, which is a club sport, not too much of intramural. But I feel like there's more and more interest in rugby that there could be a huge push for it to become a interscholastic sport and not just an intramural sport. Jeff City has also, in the last 2 years, they've hired 2 female head basketball coaches, being from a town that is predominantly football driven here. It was very huge news to have a Oklahoma alum come head coach, and then we had our own alum, Katie Foster, come here and be the head coach as well. Based on I was not able to do the results of the sports participation survey I administrate to the student body due to COVID and everything's being down like that. Does your school offer your boys sports for which same sport girls equivalent are typically offered by most schools, but not at your school? Looking at the list at MSHA and every other school, I noticed that we do offer almost every sport that any other school would offer, clubs and activities as well. But a lot of our sports are not always held at the same times due to the seasons that MSHA is hosting. Hence, soccer typically is held at the same time. Baseball, softball held at other times. Track, cross country held at the same time. They do have golf. Most sports are held at the same time except for baseball and softball. Are there sports offered in the middle school, junior high, or elementary school level in your district, area, or state that are not presently offered at your school? Looking through the list of Jeff City, I noticed Jeff City has a total of 28 sports and even more clubs and activities offered on top of that. The only four things I noticed that were not offered at Jeff City Public Schools that could have been offered were bowling, bass fishing, field hockey, lacrosse, or water polo. Being a coach here for the last 9 years, I would say bowling and lacrosse are the only two sports that I have come upon that have been addressed by a student and wanting to be participating in Jeff City Public Schools. Along with the intramural sports, Jeff City also offers a lot of along with all the sports they offer, there are a lot of intramural sports offered through the YMCA and other programs around here. We do have basketball, baseball, and softball programs for just our high school level athletes that do not want to compete in a school level activity as well. When evaluating my school on the two-prong test, I felt like the school rating was very high. When looking at the amount of sports and other activities, like I had suggested before, which was 28, we'd offered a lot of variety compared to other schools, which might have to pick one over the other, not having enough enrollment. Having 1,800 students go to your high school anytime gives you a very large opportunity to have many sports. With more females in Jeff City High School than there are males, it shows that there's a bigger interest, and there's also shown there's a bigger interest in female sports. Jeff City has also added powder puff football this last year as well. Last couple of years they host a game. I've seen interest and growth in that, and there seems to be a powder puff football league that has been created the last 2 years in Jeff City as well. Talking about the schedules and levels in the prong 2 test, typically every level there is a men's, there is women. There's a men's varsity, women's varsity, if there can be. At certain times, hence we'll take my sport for example, we might not have a large number of female athletes participating, so we might not have a JV level. We try to recruit, we're working at the middle school level to always bring that up, but we do offer those levels, every single level. Now, at every single level, typically there's the same amount of competitions and games as well. So if typically if the boys have 10 games, the girls will have 10 games. Soccer, guys go away, girls will stay home. A lot of things are flip-flopped and matched like that. Every year, Jeff City also hosts a male and female tournament, a winter tournament for basketball for males and females. Gym space, we're very lucky in having 2 middle schools, 6 elementary schools, and 2 high schools to accommodate the many athletes we have. Granted, I am only talking about the Jeff City High School side. We've now split, and which has kind of hurt our numbers and what I was talking about, not having enough for JV levels and stuff, to Capital City High School. Jeff City is now struggling to fill out the minor roles, but with our population growing and with the female population almost 200 more than men at the time right now in Jeff City, we have a pretty good case that we're staying compliant in the athletic aspect of Title IX. For the most part, I've seen Jeff City is very gender neutral. They have a mixed settings of male and female coaches. Sometimes it could be even a male coach for a female sport and a female coach for a male sport. They tend to stay in the parameters of Title IX. Granted, Jeff City has been not always compliant on the educational side and the employment side of Title IX, and have to deal with legal ramifications of that. But Jeff City on the athletic side and the side that we can control has done a great and excellent job of making sure they're Title IX compliant.